Welcome to yet another episode of Bobo and Mango's Void. How are you doing on this cursed day? We're having a cursed day, a cursed week.
Absolutely.
But we are still here. Yeah, how are you doing on this cursed day?
Terrible.
Yeah.
But listen, it's not like I'm the only one,
Yeah. Do you think there's something going on with the stars or the planets? Or is there no causation or correlation to anything that happens in the universe, and it's just randomly cruel and absurd and chaotic and doesn't care to align planets for our feelings?
Yeah, I think
Which
astrology is a piece of CIA propaganda to distract people from the fact that their day is ruined because 7 people have hoarded all the wealth. That's my take.
That's your take?
Yeah, I think every astrology page is run by like a guy in a black suit at the FBI.
Who's working for the CIA.
That's my take.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like this take. Today, I don't know if today is a debate topic or just a topic, because I don't know what else is going to happen today. Okay? But today we're talking about a few things. And I want to start off with something I was talking about on Instagram today, which is bell hooks, as usual. I am not convinced that not even heterosexual, just like sexuality is real. Like, I don't think sexuality is a real thing. I think it's I think in the way that gender and race are social constructs, sexuality is too. And I think there's a very specific reason that benefits white supremacist patriarchal capitalism, that like sexuality is the one thing that we're not even like allowed to question its validity. And it's so interesting to me because it's the most arbitrary of all of the identities that we obsess over in society. There's race, there's gender. What else is there? I guess
class.
There's class. And I guess in today's age, there's also like mental illness, because we subscribe our mental illnesses to our identity now.
Yeah.
But I think like of all of the things that we self-identify with, of all of the constructs, sexuality is the most banal. It's the most absurd one. Because like I can give some merit to any of the... So like gender... we are literally physically different. So, I can convince myself in my mind that like gender is at least somewhat valid because there literally is a difference between, and sometimes there is, but there's testosterone, there's estrogen, and there's progesterone. Like there are things that make men and women and everyone in between different. Like I can somewhat convince myself that there's a sliver of truth. Like race, we are different. Like my hair is different from Becky's hair. My skin does different things from Becky's skin. Like I can convince myself, that like there's some truth in race. I can't convince myself that there's any truth in the construct of sexuality.
Right.
One, because it is so banal. And I actually only started thinking about this about 2 years ago when I got a comment in the Bobo and Flex Facebook group that really annoyed me. And the comment was, Bobo and Flex are so hetero in their discussions of romantic love. Why won't they talk about what it's like to be a lesbian? It was like some shit like that. And I was like, bitch, I've never dated a woman. Like, why would I talk about that?
Right.
And someone was saying, like, knowing that Bobo is queer, I'm disappointed that she doesn't talk more about queerness. And I'm like, well, bitch, because I don't think about my... And that's strange. It's strange that I don't think about my queerness because I do think about my race. I do think about my gender.
Right.
I do think about my class. I think about those things a lot.
Right.
But I actually never... And on one hand, that's a privilege. I come from a very queer-friendly family, from a very queer-friendly city, in a very queer-friendly country. Like, I'm very privileged in a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways, it's also because it's so banal to me, like, or so insignificant to me as far as like how I value myself or how I perceive myself. Who I want to fuck, who I look at and get wet, which like body part do I want in my mouth? Do I want a titty or do I want a dick? All of that just has nothing to do with who I am.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't even affect me on a day-to-day basis, really.
Right.
And so I find it so insignificant. And then when I think about the fact that it's so insignificant to me that it's not even worth talking about, or it's so banal to me that it's not even worth talking about, I then start to think, well, why don't I feel that way about gender or race? And part of me feels that Bell Hooks was correct. That, like, we should... I'm not even endorsing his statement, which was that feminism is the theory, lesbianism is the practice. But she did say something interesting in the book Communion, which is that why don't we interrogate why we're straight? Like, as women especially, why don't we interrogate that? And I also think men should interrogate why they're straight. Because men really hate women. Like, men really hate women. Let's talk about this.
No, it's
men want to spend as much time as possible with other men. And men just, like, don't want to... When women ask men to do things, it's called nagging. When women want to, like, expand the relationship, it's called being needy.
Yeah.
Anytime women take away men's time with other men... Yeah. It's like a problem because men want to spend as much time with each other. Yeah. And men are very homoerotic in the way that they engage with each other. Yeah. And, like, everything that men do is to impress other men. Yeah. Men are so much more obsessed with the male gaze than with a woman's validation. Yeah. As much as men pursue women and men pursue sex with women to impress other men. Yeah. Men obsess over body count and the purity and the virginity of the woman they pursue to compete with other men. So it's so clear to me that men really love other men and yet have somehow convinced themselves that they want to spend the rest of their lives with women. And it's like, well, that's a lie then. Like, your claim to heterosexuality in that context is a lie. You don't love women. Men don't respect us. They don't care what we have to say. You notice, like, when women speak, men just, like, blank out. Like, they actually just, their brains leave the room. Men want to listen to other men. Men don't subscribe to women's podcasts, you know? They give money to other men. Men support men love Drake. No one loves Drake more than niggas.
We just want to see him win.
You just want to see him win. Men want to see other men win. They don't care. They want to. They actually hate when women win. Right. They hate when women are happy. I could go on for hours about all of the ways that men obsess and are infatuated and are, quite frankly, in love with other men. Yeah. That have convinced themselves, because of an arbitrary social construct called sexuality, that they're straight, when all of the evidence points to the contrary. And so I just want us all to interrogate why we think we're straight. Because in the same vein that men love other men and want to spend as much time as possible with other men and want to listen to other men and want to support other men and pay other men and see other men win, I could say the same for women.
I was just about to say that. Like, let's not pretend the exact same series of statements can't be made.
It is everyday men are trash.
It's
on
also
the internet.
That, and also, like, I have a friend that said multiple women in public said in front of him, I trained him. Like, women view men as such vermin. Yes. They know they feel as if they need them, or society has said that they need them.
We're also terrified of them.
You feel obliged to literally train them to have them in your house like a dog.
Yeah. Right? In order for us to just...
Right. But the training...
Just accommodate them. They need to be trained.
But the training that women do isn't something men agree with. Like, it's something
or even care about.
Right. So, like, a woman training a man through his eyes is like, well, she just taught me what a duvet cover is.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Which is like, I don't know. I think I would have been fine if the comforter didn't have a pouch. Yeah. So both genders have this insane disconnect. Right. And you're right. A lot of people aren't straight. A lot of people hate women.
Yeah, a lot of men
most men
hate
I know
women,
hate women.
And most women I know hate men.
Right.
And they hate the construct of men. So like they hate masculinity,
right?
You know, they hate like dominance, you know, all the things that masculinity are in this society: dominance, superiority, violence, the ability to break rules, you know, to be like the exception, to be entitled to. Women, we're terrified of men. We're absolutely I've never even walked in a mall with, like, I actually don't remember the last time I wasn't on edge walking in public.
Right.
Unless I'm in a space with only women, or unless I'm with you, I'm terrified. Yeah. And I was talking to you the other day about how I feel so imprisoned by the fact that in this country, I either need to be with you or like a security guard of men, in order for me to like get through the day. No dignity there's no dignity. I feel I am in a prison. We live like that every day,
right?
And then we're terrified in our house because all of the accounts of incest and your uncle doing this, and you know, we're terrified of men. We're also disgusted. We're all of these things, and yet we spend our lives wanting to attach ourselves to our oppressor. Is it normal? Tell me, is this normal? Is this real?
I don't think it's normal, and I think a lot of people in our generation are kind of clocking everything that you just said and saying, okay, I want out. Right? I want out of this sexual identity. Right. I want to be something else. I find men disgusting and repulsive. So I'm going to go out and do something else.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that line of thinking. I think from my point of view that I've noticed, the liberation that people attempt to find in changing their sexual identity sometimes isn't all that it's promised. Because there's just something about life that is suffering. There's just something about pairing with another human being, no matter what their gender is, that is suffering.
Right.
There's something about feeling trapped in any situation that is suffering. And I think what's really interesting about us as a generation, because we are the first generation to explore other sexual identities at this scale. It's not even close. Like people say like, oh, every generation thinks they're so special. We're actually really unique in this way. You've never heard a boomer come out as non-binary, right? So like we're doing a unique thing here. But I think what's really interesting is what we really desire is for the module of our sexuality in our heads to match a stranger's. And that's not something I think that you can achieve through language and identity. Sadly, I think that life is really chaotic and everyone's idea of what they want from you and who they are is so randomly different that to say that, okay, I want to be perceived as more masculine, or I want to be perceived as more feminine. And I'm going to achieve that through identity.
Right.
That person is not going to change their module when perceiving you. And that's tragic, right? And it's important to like accept that and mourn that. There's no way to force someone to perceive you the way you perceive yourself.
So what you're saying is what Sartre said when he said hell is other people.
Right.
We suffer under these constructs because hell is other people.
Right.
Sartre wasn't saying that people are trash. He was saying that hell is other people because we are endlessly imprisoned by other people.
Right.
I'm imprisoned by your gaze. I'm imprisoned by your perception of me. I'm imprisoned by thereby how you treat me. And it's the same thing that we see with black people. Like the fight against racism is the fight for us to not be seen the way white people insist we must be seen.
Right.
It's saying, I don't want to be a slave. I don't want my life to be about slavery.
Right.
And Donald Trump said, bitch, I disagree.
Right.
I see you as a slave. Because your skin is black, I think you're a slave.
Right.
That's like the fight against. But I, as a black person, cannot take myself out of Donald Trump's gaze.
Right.
I can't do it.
There's nothing you can do.
So he will always see me as a slave.
Right.
So it then becomes, what do I see myself as?
Right.
Which to me is a much more interesting question than what does everyone see me as?
Right.
And I think like we'll never be able to see ourselves as like who we are because identity is just a distraction. Like I can't, if I'm standing there, but like race, gender, and sexuality over here, I'm always just going to be looking here. But like I'm over there.
Right.
And like we do need to abolish these constructs so that like we can know ourselves.
I think that Satra's right.
Yeah.
Hell is other people. But sadly, we need them, right? Like, we're social animals. There's no way to escape that. So life is hell. Let's start from there.
Yes, and life is hell.
Life is a meaningless ball of unempathetic chaos.
Yes.
And the best way to cut through that, in my opinion, is language, right?
Language. What do you mean by that?
I feel like the conversations we have about language are like so inadequate as far as like how do we make life better.
Yeah.
I think when you really adopt like the most pessimistic worldview, which sadly I have, you realize that life is this really chaotic, uncontrollable thing. And no matter what perceptions I have of myself, I can't force someone to perceive me that way. And I am trapped within the confines of this society, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to kind of make that better just on a personal level is to like get more precise with the way that you communicate. Just get better at communication. And I think like we have so many conversations about like free speech or like what you call people and pronouns and da-da-da-da. But what about new words? What about like actually adding new words into our vocabulary so life doesn't have to be this bad?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think about it in the case of like a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And there's a problem in the relationship and both parties don't have the language to describe that problem.
Right.
That problem now feels like this amorphous fog, right? Just this thing that is undefinable.
Yeah.
And when we can't define things, they're even scarier, right? It's like, think of like Voldemort in Harry Potter, right? It's like he who shall not be named.
Yeah.
Like things are extra scary when you can't define them.
Yeah.
So the ability to define something it's the only thing that I could imagine like making the shit show that is identity and navigating through the world a little bit better.
Yeah.
But the problem is I truly don't think that we have enough words. And I think...
Well, I sorry to cut you off. It's so funny you say that because I think the problem is that we have too many words.
How?
We have too many words to describe gender. And that's what makes it so convoluted. And that's also what makes it so real. And it's not real. And it's because we've given it
too much power.
So here's where I'm at with it. Let me flex for a second. So I'm South African, and South African, but Southern Africa as a whole, we do gender very differently. So, and I think I've mentioned this before, so sorry if I'm being redundant. But I was talking to you about this the other day. And I was saying that a lot of names in my culture are just gender neutral. So like in English, like men have boys' names and women have girls' names. But a lot of names in my culture are just names. Like like you could give it to any gender. And then another thing I was telling you is that like in my language, when you're referring to someone, you don't refer to them as we don't have her, she pronouns. Someone is referred to in relation to like who they are in the context of respect. Like I refer to you.
That's very interesting.
In the not as like he or she or like she did that or he did that. I refer to you in the context of like how much respect do you deserve, right? And respect is determined by like wisdom, like how much wisdom does this person have, and that's determined by age generally. So like the way that you refer to someone, like what is the word that you use before nouns? For African languages, the word you're looking for is an adjective. Right. So adjective,
like is like a respect adjective.
So the adjective that you use before a noun when you're in reference to a person is never gender, and that's because we don't really do that. And you pointed out something really interesting a few months back when you were getting really into house, and you were saying that like South African men are the only niggas who will like twerk on the and I was like, I just feel like as men, you pointed out a lot of interesting things about gender in South Africa. Like South African men are very finicky. They're very like, no, you need to return that wine glass. Like they're very feminine. They wear tight jeans. You know what I mean? They like sway a little when they walk. They're very like, they're very verbose. Also, like,
South
they're very,
African
like,
men
poetic
are like what
too.
misogynists think women are.
Yes,
They're like catty, they're fussy,
yeah,
and they wear
fussy.
tight pants.
Yeah, you know, and they have like hips. You know what I mean? Like, they just. And you were saying that you find it so funny that like South African men are confident enough to like full on twerk in a viral TikTok video, like just on the dance floor, like. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, because gender just isn't very rigid here. Yeah. And like, I think that's why South Africa is. It's, you know, Christianity kind of ruined that for us, but in relation to other African countries,
it's not even close.
We're so like queer friendly. Like we don't give a shit if everyone is gay. Yeah. You know, like it's really like the hyper Christian people that are like, oh no, being gay, but like, and I don't think that's coincidence. I don't think like I think the reason we don't make a big deal out of sexuality is because like. We deep down on like a subconscious level, because the way that our language is constructed, just think it's banal. Yeah. You know, like we have so many like gay celebrities and like that's just not ever who they are.
It's not their whole identity.
Right. But I feel like in America, like being gay is your rollout. When you're a celebrity, you like come out. You're like, I am coming out as lesbian. And that's so absurd to me because why does it matter that you're lesbian? Yeah. Why does it matter that you want pussy in your face and not dick?
My friend.
Why does everyone care?
Or there's the alternative. My friend Everett brought up something where the alternatives like do what Harry Styles does, which is just queer bait and like never comment on it.
Oh,
so it's like keep everyone guessing about your sexuality.
Or like the Frank Ocean thing.
Yeah, that's an even better rollout. Yeah, it's just like queer bait every once in a while, and And
I just think like there's so much attention on sexuality that it makes it more real than it needs to be. Right. If we took all the pronouns out of that, because like when I think about being a woman too, I hate being a woman. I hate this shit. Yeah. I also don't want to be a woman. And I feel this way about being black. Like I don't want to be black either. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So I don't know that my solution to not being black is to come up with another word for being black and then like tell everyone that like you need to call me you know, I feel like I just need to know in myself that like I'm not what white men have decided I am. That's not how I'm gonna identify. Like they can see me as that, but like I'm done being that. I'm freeing myself from their gaze.
There's no way to free yourself because we're social animals. We need other people. And I also feel very imprisoned by masculinity. And I have friends that have gone like the route of like, I'm going to become non-binary and identify as non-binary. And I respect it, but something I kind of get hung up on personally is just, I don't think there's anything I could do to make someone's module of who I am match my own, right? Right. I don't think that I don't have that power in this simulation. But as far as language goes, it's not that we necessarily need more words so much as like words need to act as this like precise samurai blade that can like cut through the chaos, right? So in South Africa and like South African languages, you guys do a lot of precise speaking with less words, right? That works for some cultures. Yeah. But my point is just that like, unless we start saying exactly what we mean, life is just gonna get worse on like every single level. So it's like the only thing that makes relationships better is better communication. The only thing that makes social issues better is better communication. The only thing that like helps fix and like heal bigotry in the world is like better communication. So whatever that takes, could be more words, could be less. I think I've just come to the conclusion that it has to be more precise. And we live in like the way we speak is like working with a dull blade. Yeah. A lot of these words are antiquated. A lot of these sexual identities are antiquated or inefficient or inadequate. And like the only way to make things better is to get more precise. You get what I mean?
Interesting. But I think the precision doesn't come from sort of making the thing itself more precise. It comes from like redefining who you are. So okay, so let me say that sounds really corny. So what I mean when I say that is like in any South African language, we don't have gender pronouns, right? So because we don't have gender pronouns, we refer to people as far as like their rank is concerned. And like not explicitly, but like it just is implied, like the tone you use when you speak to a person, like the
South Africans said classism instead of sexism.
Yeah.
That's basically what you guys said.
It's not about class.
It's a little about class.
Because like so many old people, because they still live in the village, are still regarded with that risk. When you speak to them, you like have to, and they don't have money.
I know.
We all fund their lives. You know what I mean? Like they don't. Yeah. You know, they never like integrated into post-apartheid South Africa. Yeah. But like they still have like a hierarchy of respect. And that's just based off the fact that they understand the culture better than me. They've lived more than me. They like know how to do things more than me. Yeah. So like they just deserve more respect. Like you've just lived longer than me, and you know more about certain shit. Yeah. That's like really important. So like you deserve more respect. And like if the marker of identity is respect, you now redefine who people are. Instead of people being like, well, you're a hysterical walking vagina, or like you're a misogynistic, violent psychopath. Right. Like
those are
your two options. I'm either a hysterical vagina or a psychopathic pair of testicles. Right. And that's the gender spectrum. Right. But it's like there's no dignity for anyone in that. Yeah. If you like redefine people, I would say like based off of like how funny you are. Let's say we decided the new marker of identity was humor. Right. And like how I speak to you, or the pronoun that I put before I refer to you. Yeah. Lets everyone in the room know how funny I think you are. That would be a better society. Right. You know? Yeah. Because some people, there's dignity in that. Like being a funny person is a good thing. You know, so and like we should acknowledge, like we should assign that to you. Yeah, but like we should give people their props for that by acknowledging that like this is an important marker of identity, and that's why I'm referring to you with it. Right. Yeah.
I think the problem is, you bring up a good point, which is in the West, we do really prioritize gender way too much. And there are other options. In South Africa, it's like wisdom. I think both are trash because the actual
not
system...
wisdom is trash.
Wisdom is trash. You know how many dumb 70-year-olds? You know how many...
No, that's
Trump
not
is
wisdom.
president because
that's
of
just
these
age.
fuckheads. Fuck these boomers.
Age.
All of them can go rot in a grave somewhere.
Old black people are always wise.
They are.
Old black people.
All of them.
All of them.
A lot of them are the most like a homophobic, closed-minded bigots I know.
But okay, true.
Here's the point
I'm not
really
talking about age. Yeah.
The module that makes sense, like fuck all the cultural relativism. This culture does this. The thing that would make sense to me is I want to identify as the thing that would allow you to best understand me. Wouldn't that be the best way to do it? Shouldn't like...
Yeah, but people are gonna pick stupid shit.
No,
you're gonna be like, you have to refer to me as a baddie because my ass is the most important thing about me.
But the reason why you can't identify as a baddie is I don't understand you that way. and we should have, because clarity is so important for society to function.
Interesting.
I cannot say one thing. All that we do when we identify as things that other people cannot perceive us as is enter a collective delusion. And that cannot work. And I'm not talking about any specific identity right now. I'm talking about vague language that isn't effective. Right? Yeah. So I always use this example with like womanhood. Yeah. Because like conservatives lost their mind with like what is a woman, right? Like if I ask you for a bottle of water and I go to the pond up there, I dip a Dasani bottle in there and go, here's a bottle of water. Yeah. You'd say, what the fuck? Yeah. Because that's not what you meant. And that is how transphobes view trans people. Yeah. Where they're saying, you're not a woman. Well, what does that mean? I feel all the societal constructs of a woman. Yeah. I'm womanly. I embrace this side of myself. You know, I have a sexual essence that is more akin to women. But what you were saying is you are not a at birth biological woman. But that's your fault because you weren't being precise in your language, right? Right. Being a woman is this amorphous, huge thing that means a million things that trans people feel most of. So you were the one that was not being precise in your language. Yeah. That's the example of, hey, I want a bottle of water, dip it into a pond, here you go. That's not what you were talking about. What you should have said is, I want a crisp, unsealed bottle of Dasani water. That is the only way that life gets better. And I know it seems like obtuse, but it's not. I just think that most people are maliciously it's like weaponized incompetence, but for language. Yeah. They just want to be transphobic, right? They just don't like they're not attempting to have better That's a lot of people. Yeah. But the only way, if I was starting from scratch, I would come up with constructs that are easy to understand and allow people's modules to best be matched with other people's modules of them. And it would be something that actually has some merit. So you're right, I don't think gender has any merit. Yeah. I don't think wisdom has any merit.
Okay, there I disagree with you.
I know 50-year-olds.
You're talking about age. I'm talking about like how much have you lived and learned? How much more have you suffered than me?
Okay, but in South Africa, if I'm meeting some elders that are trash but they're 65, I still have to say Dumela Boholu.
Yeah, but like even in their trashness, they're still more wise than you.
No, they're not. Then explain the Trump presidency. What the fuck does that mean?
They're not the people who voted for Trump.
They got lead poisoning in the fucking 60s and ruined the whole planet. Why do I have
black
to respect
people out of this? Leave black elders out of this.
I'm always leaving black elders out of this. I'm just saying that like age and wisdom cannot be the parent. It's not good.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
By defining language around age and value being tied to age, that is a module that does not match.
Not age, wisdom. Like how much more have you suffered than... But
in African societies, those words are synonymous. You assume that elderly people have wisdom when a lot of them are bums as well. And you assume that children know nothing when a lot of them are smarter than you. And that's a problem with society.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I see what you're saying. But the idea is not that old people are perfect because they're older. It's that everyone is trash in their own unique way, right? Regardless of your age, you are trash. The fact remains that the longer as a black person, because this is very specific to Africa, because life is suffering here. You really suffer. Yeah. So the longer you live on this continent, the more you have suffered. And from that suffering, you've gained something that I don't yet know. Yeah. Even if you're homophobic, even if you're fucking racist, and again, this doesn't apply. No. This doesn't apply to white people because the older you are, they don't suffer more the older they get. But there is a difference in like life here that age actually gives you something that you don't get from. It's also I see this a lot in like Japanese culture. It's just the acceptance that like even if you are old-fashioned is your legacy.
No, keep talking. I just want to stretch so I can really come back and talk.
I
gotta be limber.
No, it's the acceptance that like you know some shit that I don't. You've seen things that I haven't seen. You've experienced things I haven't seen. And I disagree with you on your views about Christianity. I disagree with you on your views about marriage. That's like always going to happen. that shit's not important. That's not the most important things are like how to love, how to cohabitate with someone, how to like raise a family. Yeah. Like the core essentials of what makes life worth living. The elderly, for the most, obviously it's not going to be every single person, but the elderly, for the most part, know some shit that we don't. When it comes to the core things, all the other things that are fleeting anyway, like politics and religion and that, of course, we're going to be more advanced with that. We're the people that's changing those things. Like young people, the job of the young person is to move culture. But like the job of like the elderly person is to like restore wisdom. Like, my job here, it's like what Avatar was about too, where it's like my job here as an old person is to make sure that like the core things about our culture are maintained. You know, the core things about like our morals, our way of perceiving reality, our way of perceiving each other, like Ubuntu, you know, like old people here understand that more than this nigga, than a fucking 22-year-old who's never had to really like deal with a person. I understand the merit of adding more words makes things more specific, but it also creates a greater surface area in which like superiority can flourish. Words, in as much as they make things specific, they justify superiority. Like the more you give someone an identity or something to attach to, the first thing they do is convince themselves that that thing is better than everyone else's. So like if I give you any identity, I can be like, you're the afro-haired ninja and everyone else is something else, you are going to find a way to justify why you are better than everyone else. Like, you are going to take the identity I've given you and use it to justify why that is better than everyone else's. And that's my problem with adding words as opposed to taking them out. Because the real truth is that everyone is nothing. You're not a woman, you're not black, you're not straight. You're actually none of those things.
Right.
So, like, why add more lies on top of the lies we already have?
Okay,
let's take all these lies away.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you're saying is true.
Yeah.
And it's a good point, right? It's a good idea. But the problem is you're not considering that most ideas are wrong. Like, so the problem with, like, addressing, you know, like let's take the equating age with wisdom, right?
Yeah.
That clearly falls apart when you look at demographics of people who vote for fascists, right? So why is it
in America?
Everywhere.
No.
Everywhere.
No.
Everywhere.
I disagree.
Bolsonaro has entered the chat. The woman that won in Italy has entered the chat.
Well, all we have here is fascism. We don't have any choices.
So, okay, here's my point, right? Is that there is something inherently fascist about simplifying language when you look at the history of language.
Oh,
right?
interesting.
So you used to be able to walk from France to Germany and slowly listen to French turn into German. Language used to be so various. There used to be so many words. There used to be so much local slang. There used to be so many different schemas and constructs. And the idea of hegemonic language, the simplification of language, only came from European nation building.
Right.
It's a very recent construct.
Right.
It was only when the King of France said, okay, I'm going to consolidate power amongst all of these feudal lords. That is when French is a language. And the way that we deal with pronouns and the way that we deal with nouns and verbs and lingo, this now has to be hegemonic. So my point is the only way to fight this shit is to add words, because you resist the fascism of being limited, or, you know, your identity or whatever being slimmed down to constructs on this, like, lowest common denominator shit. So my point is that the more specific you get, the more that you can really be understood, and the more you can really express yourself, and most importantly, the more you can resist. There is something, you know, as much as, like, you know, people maybe overestimate how revolutionary, like, this whole neo-pronoun shit is. There is something to be said where it's like, okay, now whatever behemoth skincare industry preys on women, the less people identify as women and fall into the societal pressures of women, the less control they have over you, right? Or, like, the less masculinity is hegemonic, the less control whatever shit is marketed to men has control over you. And I don't think that identity is this, like, magic bullet. I just think increased languages. And if increased identity comes with that, fine. Nigga, if you identify as, like, a fox, and that's your vibe, right? By the way, I think identifying as animals is, like, way cooler, because that tells me more about you. What does your gender tell me about you? That you like fucking half the population?
Yeah, that's what I was saying in the beginning. So, it's arbitrary.
It doesn't tell me shit about you. Like, telling me that you're Zulu means that, okay, I know this person is from this province of this country on this continent. They're exposed to these food, these language, this culture. That tells me so much about you, right? So that's something that we should keep. When it comes to I'm straight, or I'm gay, or I'm bi, that doesn't give me any information about you.
Who you are.
So people embrace these sexual identities to get more understanding, not realizing that that's not telling me anything about you. Tell me something real. Tell me your favorite color. Tell me your spirit animal. Tell me, and don't tell me your fucking astrology sign. I don't care about that. Tell me something that means something. And that's really what I'm arguing for, and that's what I think, like, refined language can do for you. And on a personal level, opposed to looking for greater understanding in sexual identity, increase your vocabulary. Hang out with smarter people. Hang out with people that understand you more, that also have good like, get better at expressing yourself. I think you'll feel so much better than,
Okay. I understand what you're saying, but my critique of that is that as much as adding words creates clarity and freedom, it also creates division and violence. Because maybe the gender war continues to perpetuate itself because we convince each other that men and women are so different.
That's true.
The fact that I identify as a man, I identify as a woman, and then you identify as a man, now inherently makes us different. that now inherently makes us at odds.
Right.
That now inherently makes us at war with each other. But maybe if I was neither identifying as a woman, you were neither identifying as a man, I now don't see you as different from me.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a word that defines and positions you as something that is other from me. Because reality is inherently relational. Something only exists if it exists in relation to something else. Nothing exists just out of nothingness. Nothingness stands alone as it is, and somethingness is always in opposition to something else.
Right.
So given that that's the case, that's the law of physics in this reality, should we not be striving from the peace that comes with nothingness? In nothingness, I'm not at odds with you because I'm not different from you. I'm not a woman, you're not a man, so we can just be nothing together.
The problem is now we're not at odds, but we understand each other less, which leads to confusion, which leads to conflict, which brings us back to square one, right? So, okay, now I'm not inherently at odds with you because we are both neutral gender, whatever it is.
No
Let's
gender,
come up with some random word for it, whatever you want to call it. But now I don't know what you want from me, and I don't know what I want from you.
You do.
Sorry.
You just know that has nothing to do with any of my identities.
Right.
Because what I want from you is so specific to who I am that none of the identities that anyone has ascribed me could explain it. Even as we are right now. What I want from you cannot be explained by my race. It cannot be explained by my class. It cannot be explained by my gender. It cannot be explained by my sexuality. It can only be explained by something that is so specific, I don't even know.
Right.
And and that's the problem with these identities, is they attempt to explain things that cannot be explained with them. You know?
Here's what I think. I think that, let's just take our lifetime, for example. Society has changed a lot. Right?
Yeah.
And yet the terminology that we use to describe our gender and our mental health are about, I don't know, like they were made 3 decades before the internet was even invented, right? So it's like these things are insanely antiquated. And I saw this story about this girl who was in school, and when she graduated, all of her friends went off to college, and she stayed in her hometown, and she got very depressed. And through her depression, she went on all of these online communities for BPD because this was the content that she liked, right? She really related to something about these people. And then she started showing signs of BPD, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, she kind of starts showing all of these characteristics of someone with borderline personality disorder. And she gets checked into a mental institution for this thing.
Interesting.
In 2 weeks, she gets better and reverts back to her old self. And the doctor was saying, okay, this is something new, right? It's not that she was faking it. She was genuinely ill, but people with borderline personality disorder do not get better in 2 weeks. This is a unique thing happening.
Right.
And my point is, we are so limited when we don't add new words into our vocabulary because that person gets diagnosed with BPD as opposed to this new thing, which is probably a social contagion caused by loneliness in the internet era, right? That needs a new name. People are really critical with this shit. People think like, oh, she was just lying. No, I think that's real, right?
Yeah.
She was driven so ill that she had to be institutionalized, but it wasn't BPD.
Right.
So same with gender, right? Where it's like, whether it be identifying as gay or trans or whatever, it's like, we haven't really added that many new things in a long time. And my point is that wouldn't we get more of what we're looking from other people if there were more words to more precisely define ourselves?
My point is that we are too complex to ever embody the confines of any word. Any word.
Sure.
You could have the best, like, bitch, I'm a marshmallow jellyfish. That's how I feel like. That's who I think I am.
Put it in your bio then.
I'm a marshmallow but even that doesn't even capture the essence because language is too limiting. And we have to accept that. You have to accept that as much as we can come up with the fanciest words, you can be the most poetic bitch, but and language, just like what it is, this 3-dimensional thing is too limiting to ever capture who we really, because we're so much more than 3-dimensional. We're so complex.
Yeah.
And my point is that the gap between the complexity of the human condition versus the simplicity of language creates conflict. It also creates an ongoing dysphoria. Because I am constantly trying to fit into boxes of language and I'm never able to. And instead of accepting that, like, well, maybe the reason I don't feel that I live up to any of the words in society is not because there's something wrong with me, but because those words aren't big enough for me. I am bigger than any word. And to try and fit me into a word is to limit me. And so now that you've limited me, I can never really know who I am or experience myself as I am. Because I'm trapped inside the confines of a word. And I think that this claustrophobia that I'm feeling being inside of this, I'm right now describing what it feels like to be a woman. Being a woman feels claustrophobic because it's so much smaller than what I am. It's like I'm not just a human with a vagina. Like I'm not just like a parent. I'm not just like a nat. I'm not just like a thing to breed baby. I'm like so complex, science couldn't even capture me. Like, bitch, like astrophysicists could never understand me. And then to try and like bring me down to the level of a word. But respect me. Okay. Words are disrespectful.
No, but this is like an institutionalist versus anarchist thing where it's like you're making the point that because something can never be perfect, it's not worth doing at all. And I disagree with that. Like, I get that a word will never perfectly define you. It's not meant to. It's meant to be a tool. Right? You equip yourself with words. Have you noticed that, like, when women start reading bell hooks, they feel like they have a weapon on them because they know how to describe shit now, right? And so it's like, that's weaponized incompetence. They just start this. Like, words are a weapon. Use them. Learn more. Only hang out with other people that know. It's like, so it's not perfect. It's not a magic bullet, but it is a sword. Right? You can equip yourself with words and you should stock up on them. You should be able, because when you pluck out a word or you say weaponized incompetence, right? It's like, okay, my boyfriend always like waits on me to like dictate tasks and and like he pretends. You don't know, that's just this foggy thing, right? You don't know what it is and there's a problem in the relationship, but it's just this amorphous glob in your head and you're just sad and you don't know why. But then you learn the word weaponized incompetence, right? Or like you read The Will to Change, and now it's like, okay, I know what that is and it's less scary and I can address it. And my point is that if we had more words, less things would just be this foggy, amorphous thing that makes us sad, you know? And I see that, like, it's why they intentionally keep poor people illiterate and they keep poor people, you know, with very small vocabularies to express themselves. It's why class consciousness is really hard to achieve, right? Because it requires
a lot of language that doesn't exist.
And it's really weird because, like, free speech absolutists are always the people who are like against new gender shit, like new pronouns and it's like, well, I thought the whole thing was, hey, like more words. Hey, like words are good. Aren't we aren't you like crying about 1984 every 5 seconds? But then like you want less words for like gender identity.
Am I a fascist?
Well, we all need to accept that we're all a little fascist, right? Like fascism is just this idea that the world would be a lot better off if more people did what I did. If more people ate what I ate, lived what I lived. It's a bad thing to an extent. Also, another
because I think that, like, I literally think the world would be better if we went by my rules.
But people aren't you.
Yes, but like, there's just like basic things. So for me, I'm like, the world would be better if we all ate more vegetables. And like, I know I'm right. Like, I'm right. You know what I mean? So we should all do it. Don't question me. I'm right. And I just feel like the world would be better if we just did away with gender, because I don't like it. And you've convinced me, you know, you showed me the other side of like how having more genders as opposed to less genders can be good. But I still feel like I want us all to do it my way.
Okay.
Am I a fascist for that? Am I Hitler?
Here's what determines whether or not you're Hitler. the core ideology of fascism is the idea of the moral degenerate, right? Yeah. There is something in society that is degenerating it. It also relies on a mythical past, right? So we had this lovely society where everyone was in straight white hegemonic relationships, and then these trans people came, and the economy crashed. Yeah. And did it. So it requires a mythological past, and then this idea of the moral degenerate. So you can feel as if, hey, I've got some things figured out, and maybe society would be a bit better if people did things like me. But you cannot believe that the way other people are living is degenerate. You know what I mean?
All of them?
No. It's that cannot be.
But don't you think some people's lives are degenerate?
It is, but it's ones that the biggest problem with people's ideologies is they don't accept that, hey, cool, that's a good idea. But the problem with all ideas is that all ideas are wrong. There is no one idea that is correct in every application of it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying my idea is better. It's not like 100%. I'm just looking at capitalism and I'm like, yo, what I have to do, listen, what I want to do with this planet is so much cooler than capitalism. Well, like, we'd be on mushrooms, we'd be in nature, we'd have beauty, we'd have fresh food. Yeah. You know, we might have other problems. There'll be other problems. You know, it'll be annoying. It'll be like a lot of bureaucracy. Yeah. It's gonna be. Oh no, it's gonna be less bureaucracy. It's gonna be a lot of dialogue. It's gonna be a lot of like every week argue. It's gonna be a lot of debate, and that's annoying. That's an annoying society. Yeah. But the pros outweigh any pro of capitalism.
Yeah. Well, this is what all fascists say. And by the way, I'm not saying that you're particularly... We all have a little...
Well, I'm just saying, why is fascism bad?
Because it's a terrible way to govern, not because it's a terrible way to seize. Everything can look great on paper. It's a terrible way to govern. As much as I'm going to sound like a fucking neolib right now, that Winston Churchill quote is kind of true. It's like, democracy is the worst kind of government ever, except for every other kind of government. Fascism is always an extremely incompetent way of running a society. Because when you or a typical or a oligarchical group of people's morals are the people that are the institutions that guide a society, people are always going to be scared to give you the adequate information, right? Communicate to you the honest truth because they're afraid of your wrath. And then even if you are this perfect, benevolent person, you will not be given the information necessary to rule properly because you've created such an awful environment for conversation.
No, do you think it's an awful environment for conversation?
I'm not. I don't think. I've watched. I looked at the 20th century.
But my fascism is all about It's what I was saying. There's so much dialogue under my brand of fascism.
That's an oxymoron.
No. It's because it's embedded in the system. You have to embed it in the system. No, it's every Friday. If you don't like anything that we're doing in this dictatorship, let's argue. Come up stage, let's debate. Let's go.
Here's the problem with fascism.
And everyone in the crowd, you can vote who won the debate, as we do in this show. Right. And whoever won, win. Like you've won.
Here's the problem with that.
You don't get to just like tell me without arguing your position why you want things to be different. That's my beef with democracy. It's that no one has to explain shit. It's just like, hey, we're doing capitalism because 80 people voted on it. Yep, 80 people said they didn't explain why they did it. They didn't give any motivation. Whether their motivation was cruel or uninformed or led by jealousy or envy or greed wasn't considered at all. It was just like, that's just what these 85 million idiots said they want to do. Wouldn't you rather have the rules changed because you've heard the motivation of one very compelling and smart individual who had a very good argument and considered all sides?
Here's the problem with fascism, right? So we're having this open dialogue Fridays, right? Where you bring everyone to your dictatorial chambers. And they plead their case for grain to you or whatever. Right? When someone disrespects you, you're the commander-in-chief of the military.
Don't disrespect me. Don't disrespect me.
See, now we're at the where we've reached.
No, but why do you need to
problem.
This is my beef with free speech.
What the fuck?
My beef with free speech is like, why do you need to disrespect me so bad? It's like, white people want to say nigga so bad, but why? Why do you need to do that? That's my beef with free speech. Why do you want the freedom to call me a nigger so bad? Why can't you just call me the way I want to be called? No, you don't get... There needs to be rules about what words people can use and can't. You can't call me... And there's a difference between America and South Africa. Okay, the South African version of the word nigger is... This is going to be a great episode for white people to listen to. Is kafir.
Yeah.
Okay, and Americans decided, I'm going to reclaim the word nigger.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it cool. South Africans decided, we will outlaw this word and never speak it again.
Yeah.
And who is better off?
Yeah. No,
Honestly,
there's something said. Well, here's a really good point.
Black Americans are worse off because the word nigger just keeps, they'll never escape it now.
Yeah.
They reclaimed it. So and the problem is that like that was the premise of who you were when you were brought to America.
Yeah.
You were just a nigger. There's nothing to, it's like saying we need to reclaim capitalism. No, we need to get rid of it.
Right.
There's no... The premise of capitalism was slavery. We can't reclaim slavery and make it good.
Right.
There's no good version of slavery. It's slavery.
Right.
And that's the same with the word nigger. It's like, it's nigger. Like, it you know? And, like, the more you keep it alive, the more it grows.
Right.
You know, it creates a fire that just keeps growing.
I've seen myself not progress, but change my mind on these issues as I get older.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, when I was like 19 and I was making my first music, my mom like pulled me aside and said, I really don't like that you use the word nigga. I just think that there's no way for me to hear that word and not be taken back to really dark times. Yeah. Like my mom was growing up as like a black girl in London in like the 60s and like little white girls would like grab her by the hair and call her a nigger, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But from my perspective, right, I'm a kid growing up in New York in the early 2000s and when I hear nigga, I think of Cameron and Joel Santana, right?
But is that worth traumatizing your mother?
No. My point is that I've come a long way on this. So as like a rebellious 19-year-old, I'm like, yeah, I get that, but fuck that. Listen, it means something else to me. Yeah. But as I get older, I just realized that, words really can't be changed that much.
No. You can kind of change them.
Or you can add things. So it's like my argument for allowing people to say nigga, even though I want to say it less, is that, okay, nigga means slavery, it means being below something, but in the specific black American hip-hop context, it also means, hey, I understand you. We went through something collectively, and this is our word to express that. And it's like a really weird meta tongue-in-cheek thing because the word nigga and its use in black America actually predates hip-hop by a lot. Starts in like the 60s, even the 50s. It's like, and it was just an acknowledgement of that. It was literally an acknowledgement of systemic racism in a very specific context. But now I do realize that like, hey, you can't change much. And I look at like all of these rappers dying. And how worthless their lives
shoot each
are.
Other to do,
and how worthless we view our own lives. And I go, I think this is a perception. Like, hip-hop wasn't this way when I was
growing up. You just see each other as niggers now.
It's like, and there's a dark energy that gets cast of like 20 years, and it's banal. Evil is like, yo, what's up, my nigga? Yo, you good?
Yeah, no, that's how banal evil is.
But at the end of the day, yo, I don't know if I value your life. And like, I'm not trying to be someone who like blames it on something. Like, oh, we gotta do better. It's not saying that. It's just saying I think language is really important. It says a lot. And this is why I think we need more words because no one talks about how much the normalization of words leads to death. That's the hip-hop example, but think of like the mental health example, right? Where it's like the words depression, dissociation, and anxiety meant so much 30 years ago. And now they mean nothing.
Now it's an aesthetic.
Dissociation is when you longingly look out the window thinking about your ex. Anxiety is when your boss is being mean to you. Depression is when you get broken up. So people with clinical issues, people with clinical depression, people who've been thinking about killing themselves since they were 15, now have to compete for understanding in the realm of someone who just got broken up with and is going on their ex's Instagram every few days. or people that actually have dissociative disorders, people that snap in and out of reality, are just like competing for understanding with like angsty girls on Tumblr, right? So like, and then back to the word nigger, right? So it's like, we cannot let words that need to have weight be bogged down. And the only way to stop them from being bogged down is to add new ones.
Well, do you think that words need to be policed? You know, if you're saying that, because you're right, words have so much power in that, you know, a word can literally lead to the genocide of a people, which is what we're seeing with black men in hip hop.
Right.
And because we know words are so powerful, should they be policed? Should there be legislation around words? Because knowing that a word can call a genocide, is it not in the best interest of a government to make sure it doesn't cause a genocide unnecessarily? We need a UN for words. We need, you know, I even think the word bitch was a mistake. We should have never did that.
It's been really normalized.
It's really like, because even bitch, you know,
and you
it's
guys
like,
made
bitch.
that too cool to straight men.
Yeah.
Because now straight men are like, this bitch. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, no, I see that in myself. It's
and
like
now
women
we just
shouldn't have done
bitches.
that. I get how white people feel about nigga when I think about the word bitch, because it's like, well, y'all made it cool.
Yeah.
Like, I get why white people want to say nigga. We've made it so cool.
Yeah.
It's like in the same way, like women and gay black men have made the word bitch so cool that now, like, as a straight man, I want to say it when I really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's not good for me to be saying and even thinking that.
We need to get rid of the word bitch. Yeah.
I think that language should be policed, but never with like the arm of the state. Like any attempt to police, any government or ruling power factions attempt to police and like curtail language into something they find acceptable is a power grab. That's the history of hegemonic language. There was no hegemonic language before the idea of the nation state. They used to be able to walk from France to Germany and hear it change. So like it was only through empire that the idea and the schema of a language even exists. So I don't believe in any powerful person or group's attempt to police language. I think we should culturally police language amongst ourselves, but much like actual policing, the problem isn't the policing, the problem is the options. So much like with crime, it's not that you need to crack down on people saying, and white people can't say nigga, and men can't say bitch, and that you need to give them more things to say. And with black people, it can't be king. King is not it. I've tried it, like, yo, what's up, my king? What? You guys really need king. And it needs to be as cool as nigga.
Prince.
And it needs, Prince is kind of fire.
Yeah.
And
what's
women
up,
need
Prince?
something.
Start calling each other Prince.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, no, there needs to be more options to the point that crime doesn't occur. In the same way, like, if you want to crack down on crime, don't give the police predator drones. Maybe give kids after school programs. So it's like, instead of like, you know, getting rid of the word bitch altogether, maybe give men 3 other things other than queen and bitch. You know what I mean? Maybe if I had 3 other things to refer to women, and men do, I'm being facetious, but that's what I'm saying, like more words helps. It helps because it allows you to reduce the use of words that have this unavoidable hatred to them without going full fascist. Without saying like full 1984, here's what you can and can't say. Okay,
so you're saying let people say whatever they want and let that be policed by culture. So like, you can call me nigger, but I can also shoot you in the face if you call me nigger. And then we'll all know where we stand.
How is this what you do? What I'm saying, here's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that you can't by law say nigger, and it's written in the Constitution. And if I catch you saying law, if I catch you saying nigger, I will throw you in the gulag and set you on fire. And that will be an example.
I keep like describing democracy and you're like, Stalinism? Yeah, okay.
No, here's an example.
Here's actually
no one
what I'm
will
saying.
ever say that shit again.
Here's actually what I'm saying. instead of spending $937 billion on the military, maybe invest some of that in schools. So the only time black men are reading isn't just when they're playing 2K22, and they read books, and they learn new words, and they learn other ways to express themselves. So it's not every day, nigga, 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 bitch, bitch, bitch. And like, you just have more words. Therefore, you can understand yourself better. You can understand women better, other people better. And like, that's how you actually make the world a better place.
Okay, it's a middle ground, Is that...
There's no middle ground between fascism and democracy.
We allow people to come up with words, but you have to justify why you need that word, and then I'll decide.
You really can't get this. There's a certain point that you can't push
because if you
past.
tell me you want this word because you want to insult people, like, I feel like the word retard was unnecessary. Can we be honest?
Yeah.
Like, we should have never let anyone have that word, you know? And I think the language police should have been like, no one's allowed to use the word retard. It's so insulting to just call someone retarded, you know?
But
and like, insulting?
What is insulting about it? Here's my point. Is the word...
It's because you're saying that people who... The original definition of retard is like, you have a cognitive disability.
Right.
There's nothing inherently wrong with that. So
Right.
to now take a word that was the premise of someone's life and then equate it to something negative is so cruel.
Of course.
You're saying that the word that was used to describe the premise of like how you get through day-to-day life, we're gonna make it so negative that you're ashamed to be who you are. That's so no.
My point is
and
not.
So
Yeah,
there needed
no,
to
you're
be
right.
a police to be like, no, not that one. Because the only justification for the word retard was we want to make people feel like shit.
Right.
We want to assert us neurodivergent people, us neurotypical people, we want to assert ourselves as the superior. And I disagree. I don't think neurotypicals are superior to neurodivergent. So shut the fuck up and don't use the word or I'll set you on fire.
Yeah. But here's the problem with banning words entirely. Is there no use case in which you can see the use of the word retarded outside of a medical case being appropriate?
No.
Okay. So here's my feeling, right?
Yeah.
What is mean about the word retarded and why I don't say it and I try not to say it is that you are asserting that you don't care about people who are struggling in a way that you are not.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That is what's mean about that word. But the meanness is in the idea. It's not the word. So here's my example,
okay,
right?
Donald Trump.
No.
Yeah.
Here's my point, right?
Yeah.
So here's an example that I don't think it's so bad.
Yeah.
When I was in school, I was really struggling.
Yeah.
And I had dyslexia and I had a few things, but I was really just bored and not paying attention because I didn't care.
Yeah.
And people thought I was like, I had like a cognitive deficiency, right? And they were trying to put me on pills for like medicate that.
Right.
And they told my mom this. And in the car, my mom said, hey, listen, don't ever let those people tell me you're retarded. Because you stay and you focus on that game all day.
Yeah.
And I don't think my mom was being mean.
Yeah.
I don't think she hates mentally disabled people. She was saying, hey, I know that you're smarter than you're letting on. You're just not trying hard enough. And you're not being proactive about your education.
Yeah.
I don't think the use... And could she have found a better way to say that? Of course.
Absolutely.
But I think she said it was clear.
Yeah.
It was well communicated. And I got my shit together after that.
Yeah.
I paid more. And I get that I'm not defending the use of the word.
Yeah, no,
I'm saying
get
that the meanness and the malintent comes from the intention. People use the word retarded, which is like it's like a really big gaming word.
Yeah.
It's like really been popularized in my age group of men through like gaming. They're literally saying that like mentally disabled people are stupid and that is inherently bad and I don't care.
Right.
But the assertion of what makes that mean isn't the word retarded, it's that you don't care.
Right.
Because, some people are computationally slower than you due to mental deficiencies. That just doesn't mean they're any less of a human.
Right.
So the problem isn't the word retarded. The problem is that you feel better than some. The problem is all of the words that surround the word retarded. So I don't think words are a problem. It's just we got to get over our like really fragile snowflake shit. And I realize this with the word nigga too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm always inherently gonna be triggered when a white person says the word nigga.
Yeah.
But as I get older and more mature, I just realize, well, that's silly.
Yeah.
Because is there hate in their heart?
Right.
And why am I ruining my own day? Like, there's this idea that when a white person says nigga around you as a black man, you have to fight them. It's like, so now I have to ruin my day. I was on my way to Whole Foods.
Now I have to
to ruin my day. So it's like words have the power that you give them. And I just can't really imagine the world getting better unless we add more words. No, so it's like, you know, so, but to my point about like mental health, right? Where it's like, you're not dissociating. You don't have anxiety. You don't have aggression, but you do have something that is real. And we should come up with a word for that, right? Like every time you check your phone, that's not OCD. It's something new though. It's a new thing. It's a social contagion. It's a virus. Put a word on that and put it in Webster, but don't ruin life for actual depressed people, people with actual clinical anxiety, people with actual gender dysphoria, people with real things by lumping your shit into that. And I don't have to invalidate what you're going through to say that. My point is that instead of invalidating or ruining a word by hypernormalizing it, why not create a new word? So like,
I guess the question at that point is, because I get what you mean about intent, and that it's really about like the intent behind the word. What gives it its meanness. And the question then becomes, well, do words create intent, or does intent create words? You know, are people mean to disabled people because of the word retard? Or does the word retard exist because people are mean to disabled people?
The meanest things anyone has ever said to me have never included profanity, racial slurs, or anything that we traditionally deem as bad. The meanest things. That's probably true for most people too. Like I have a friend and he said his mom said, you know, if you lose some weight, maybe someone will pay to get your teeth fixed.
Wow.
That's so mean. That's so much meaner than calling someone a nigga or calling someone a bitch. And I've also experienced this from white people. The meanest things that white people have ever said to me have never included the word nigga. Or they've never included like a jigaboo or said, they've just been mean things. And that's how I know that the meanness lies in the intent, not in the words, because the things that have hurt my feelings the most have never had curses in them. They've always just been mean ideas. But like, and it's this idea of like fucking like white decorum, or like where it's like white people are so mean without ever saying profanity. Like men are so mean without ever saying like bitch or anything inherently misogynistic. The problem is that words are loaded, right? So it's like the word nigga is loaded with 400 years of slavery. The word bitch is like it's like a millennia of misogyny. But I think that we gotta get emotionally mature enough to see words for the actual context in which they're being used and not all of the baggage that comes with it. And then we need to have the imagination to come up with new words that actually describe what we mean, so we don't even have to hurt people by accident. But the number one thing we need to do is not police language with the strong military power of the state. That's what, or with capital, right? Because it's like, you know, it's not like Kanye's in jail, but he lost all his money, right? So it's like, we also can't use like capital as this means of that's equally harmful. Let someone lose in the free market idea. Oh, sorry, in the free market of ideas. Like let Kanye lose because his ideas are stupid, not because, you know what I mean?
Let he something said some words.
Let people fail on merit, you know?
Well, there we have it. What do you guys think? Should we add more genders or less genders? What causes us more torment, and what would make the world a better place? And And what's the prize for the winner? I guess this
I
was
didn't
a
even
debate
know this.
episode.
Yeah, I guess it turned into a debate.
Yeah.
I just want to sleep. So, you know, like, this is like growing as a man.
Yeah.
First, this is growing up as a black man. First, you want head,
Yeah.
and now you're like, I just want rest.
Yeah. I will give you that tonight.
Okay, cool.
Tonight, I will tuck you into bed.
Thanks. What's your prize?
My prize. I want a 3-hour massage.
3 hours?
From you and Mango.
Okay. I can guarantee Mango. I'll have to look at my schedule.
No.
All right.
No, you have to agree.
Okay, I agree.
Okay. Well, there you have it. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.